Roasted fresh daily in Batavia, Illinois.
Listen to podcasts of Joe Walsh and Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Updating those numbers I gave you before Mike Scott's newscast in terms of the weekend carnage in Chicago.
Yeah, now 7 killed and 39 shot.
And again, the advertisement was that Lori the Lightfoot would be donning her cape and going out to slay the criminal element.
Well, she did. She rode along with police officers Saturday night and responded with them to that shooting on the south side where a majority of the homicides took place.
I hope she was secure in her child seat in the back of the squad car during the ride along. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined again by our friend Kevin Graham, president of the Chicago FOP. Kevin, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, Kevin, can you hear us?
Hello, Kevin.
There he is.
Hello, phone lines. Kevin Graham, going once.
Yes.
Oh, we got him.
Hey.
Yes,
okay.
hello.
There we go. Hey, Kevin. Sorry. Technical difficulties.
No
Yeah. So anyway, this weekend's Memorial Day weekend violence, as we just mentioned, 7 dead, 39 shot. A concentration of the dead and wounded on the West Side housing project, but nonetheless, these are individual lives that are lost or irreparably changed. And so what are we to do about this other than shrug our shoulders?
First of all, it's sad when you have 39 people shot in a weekend in a city in America. That is a tragedy any way you want to look at it.
Yeah.
My feeling is that morale in this police department is at an all-time low. There are ways to pick up the morale, namely with a contract that's been expired July 1st for 2 years. And there is a number of things that we can do to turn this around. We need a prosecutor that prosecutes. We need people that are going to stand up and take responsibility for their actions. We need a mayor that's going to support the police department, and we need those things, and that will turn around the violence in the city.
Well, things, have gotten better. Think about Memorial Day weekend in 2016. Remember that? We had 71 people shot. Remember that?
Right.
And 6 of them fatally.
Worse.
So what do you think? Mayor Lightfoot, she's obviously this is her first week on the job. What do you think so far? And what do you think of her doing the ride-along on Saturday night?
Well, she was out in the 6th District. I was out in the 7th District and in the 3rd District, making sure that our members knew that their union was with them. And certainly I appreciate the fact that she's out showing that she wants to see what goes on in the police department. We need to get to where we've got a contract in the support. We've got a consent decree, mostly based on a report that she wrote. And she wrote a report that said that there was a code of silence. And I've said all along, I don't know of one. So
that report said worse than
I don't
that.
know.
I'm not to interrupt, but that report said the Chicago Police Department is a inherently racist institution. That's what it said.
That is a very sad state of affairs when she looks at the police department that way. And let me tell you something. Our members are not racist. Can you find somebody who is? I'm sure you can. But our members are not racist, and I think one of the things that is missed is not just the number of officers who are black and Hispanic and other, but that so much of our culture has changed that many of our members have biracial families now, and that fact seems to be left out. In so many of these statistics. And when you look, our members are vastly different than they were just 10 years ago, and certainly different from 20 years ago.
Well, what's your interaction been with Mayor Lightfoot to this point?
None.
Well, yeah, she didn't speak too kindly of the FOP when you guys responded to her hiring her own security operator and not using the Chicago Police Department. Pretty much just saying that you would, I'm paraphrasing here, but that you guys complain about everything, so this is nothing new.
We're off to a good start.
The mayor has spent her the mayor has spent her entire career complaining about the police. I mean, she was at OPS. She was the head of the police board. She has that's been her job, and to say that we are complaining, I think we've been right on the money on everything we have complained about. And we only have to go to Kim Fox. We were the first ones to say, hey, this stinks. There's something wrong here. That was before the charges were ever dropped against Jesse Smollett. Mm-hmm. We were on top of every single problem that's gone along. We have said this consent decree could cost the taxpayers well over $500 million. And we've said, why don't you just sit down? We can figure this out. We can have collective agreements that would continue on, that we can actually fix things instead of a checklist. But the city didn't want to do that. So now we not only have that big price tag, we also have a price tag for a police academy, which they've only budgeted $100 million for. Los Angeles Academy cost $750 million. New York's was $1.2 billion. So I don't know what kind of a academy they're going to build, and it's going to be combined with the fire department. So they got a heck of a price, I guess.
I look at the CWB Chicago feed because they follow the scanners and they report on a lot of small stuff that turns out to be big stuff. I don't know if you're a acolyte of the broken windows theory of policing, but it's just little things like a video rolling as man punches out Boys Town nightclub window on Sunday evening. Police say he was ticketed, sent to a local hospital. Man accused of punching 70-year-old clerk during a store robbery that netted him a bottle of Hennessy gets probation after pleading guilty to a lesser included charge and being fined $50 for the Hennessy. We've documented and recounted many other examples of pleading down much more serious criminal offenses and repeat offenders of serious criminal offenses, violent offenses before. So, I mean, I know there's a lot of focus on Smollett, and that's justified. But all of this other stuff, too, about real crimes, including some violent crimes, and you're just turnstiling them right back on the street. So, to me, that's so much more of an indictment on Fox and potentially Lightfoot. We'll see what she does. Because, remember, the argument about not prosecuting Smollett was we got to focus all our resources on violent criminals. We got to get violent criminals off the street. We got to make sure neighborhoods are safe. Well, that's not what they're doing.
Well, and I think you just have to go back a month or two when the police chiefs from both the north, west, and south suburban Cook County all came here to FOP, asked for our help because they're frustrated with Kim Fox and the prosecution. It is a revolving door at 26th Street and at other courthouses throughout the county, and they want criminals to be kept in jail. And it's extremely hard to try and get a handle on crime when there doesn't seem to be any consequences for the crimes that they've already committed.
Yeah, when she let Jesse Smollett go, that was a message to everyone saying, do whatever you want to do. And it's not a capacity issue, too, at 26 and Cal, because Sheriff Tom Dart, I spoke with him, and he said, no, we have plenty of room. So I don't know what is her motivation for just letting violent criminals back out on the street. Do you?
It's a philosophy, isn't it?
It is her philosophy, and it is a philosophy among progressives who, progressives complain about the police. They don't offer solutions, but they complain, and they want to try and tell people, oh no, they just had a bad upbringing. They need a chance. People are accountable for their actions, and if they're not held accountable, then the law doesn't mean anything.
I'll tell you, this is an important point that I want to emphasize because it speaks to the city that works, and we're so pragmatic and we're so solution-oriented. What you have now, Lori Lightfoot recounting some of them, what you have now in positions of authority, both at City Hall on the 5th floor, Cook County Board President, Cook County State Attorney, you have ideologues. These are ideologues, and they are not interested in practical solutions. They're interested in advancing their ideology, their philosophy of how society should be ordered, regardless of the results. And so, I mean, yeah, I think what you said, Kevin, is an understatement. Yeah, you don't hold criminals accountable, you're going to get more criminal activity. They're not dumb. They understand that you're handcuffing the police rather than allowing the police to handcuff the criminals. Is that not right?
Oh, absolutely. And you can turn this on the police all you want, but the reality is we are out there to protect the people of the city of Chicago. We want to do that. We need help from the mayor and from city council to give us the tools that we need to arrest people and keep them in jail.
Is there
the people of the city of Chicago can walk around and safe?
Is there anybody on the city council other than guys that have been first responders like Napolitano that you guys can ally with to try and put pressure on her if she's not going to be proactive in her engagement with you?
Well, yes, there are. I think tomorrow is the first city council meeting, and we're going to see how many of those people are standing with Mayor Lightfoot, how many people are going to oppose her, and on what grounds. So I think tomorrow is going to be the real interesting part as to where the aldermen lie in this controversy. So let's hope that they stand up for the people of the city of Chicago and look out for the people of Chicago's best interests, along with the police department. But I think tomorrow's city council meeting, I think people should be watching.
And with this pending contract, what are some points of contention?
Well, they want to put in what's called a discipline matrix, and there really is no reason for doing it other than they want to say that they are cracking down on police officers, and the reality is the complaints about police officers are down. We are doing exactly what we're supposed to. I mean, there's silly stuff out there, and what I mean by that is there's things about lost body cameras. Occasionally a radio is lost when in a foot pursuit, things like that. But in terms of real complaints about the police, they're down. Putting in a discipline matrix, which really is just to hammer the police officer trying to do his best, we're against. We are trying to illustrate that. I'm not trying to negotiate the contract in the media, but that is one of a number of things that they're trying to implement. And they want to do it unilaterally, and we're not going to let them.
I'm glad to hear that before police are arresting a violent criminal, they're making sure to ask what that person's preferred pronoun is. That's great to hear. That's really going to increase the peace on the streets. I know that was very important to the mayor. Let me just ask you this too, and I hate to preordain anything that's macabre, but if nothing changes in terms of where the morale is at and where the political culture is at and the respective civilian political leadership's backing of police, are we or are we not in for a long and bloody summer in Chicago?
I'm always the person that believes the glass is half full. However, we had a weekend that showed that there were, based on the numbers I heard on your show, 39 people shot, 7 dead, and it rained half the weekend.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you had 1,200 extra police officers out on the streets. I saw cops everywhere on Michigan Avenue, North Avenue Beach. I mean, they're everywhere you turned.
I think we can do all. I think we can all do that math. Yeah.
I backed up some officers that responded to some kids running into Walgreens trying to grab things and take off. I was backing up an officer on that, and believe me, everybody was busy and everybody was working over the weekend. And I got to say this: our men and women of the Chicago Police Department are some of the most outstanding law enforcement officers in the country, and they work their butts off every single night to try and keep the people of the city of Chicago safe.
He is Kevin Graham, president of Chicago FOP. Kevin, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
He joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing This is Chicago's Morning Answer on